Welcome to Public Forum, a community outreach program produced at North Idaho College on the shores of Lake Coeur d'Alene. Featuring guests from around the globe addressing a wide variety of subjects, Public Forum serves to educate and enlighten. Please join host and moderator, political scientist Tony Stewart, in welcoming today's guest.
I am most pleased to welcome you to our annual holiday program. At Christmas time, we always do a program either with children or with musicians, and today we want to entertain you with some wonderful music by a very professional group. I welcome to the program, first of all, on bass is Tom Rutley, and next to him is his spouse, Padma Rutley, who will be our vocalist, and next to her is Steve Brody, who is on the guitar. The Rutleys have performed with national, international musicians over many years, and they certainly have done a lot for us here in our community since they've moved here years ago. And welcome to all three of you, and it's so great to see all three of you together. You do such a wonderful job together. And I know our audience is going to have a more special holiday because you're here to perform for them. And as always, I'm very pleased to welcome our regular panelist, Janelle Burke, who is an attorney in Idaho, but I must also indicate that she has a master's in music, and she also performs, so it's so appropriate for her to commence our questioning today. And as we question our guests, we'll be inserting some songs throughout the program. Janelle?
Music is a very big part of the holiday season, and so I'm going to start by asking you, and we'll start with Steve, each one of you to say 2 or 3 of your very favorite carols, the ones that you like the most and you think reflect the season.
Well, my favorites are O Little Town of Bethlehem, O Holy Night, and Silent Night. Those are my favorites.
Great selection, yes,
Yeah.
all of those. Very, very much associated with the season. Padma, how about you?
Well, I'm. That's what we're doing today, and that's what I feel too, because of the tradition. They're just very traditional, and it's something that everybody knows, and I love them.
And they can be done in all kinds of styles.
Exactly, right.
So you're going to do them in your style, and those are favorites. Tom, do you have some favorites?
Favorites.
All music is favorite to those of us who are musicians, right?
It's true. Holy Night has always been a real. I can't remember. Mom had the records, and they had one with Mario Alonso on it, and he did Holy Night, and it sticks in the brain till today. It's like very dynamic and brings out the spirit of Christ. It's really dynamic. I can't give you 3. I can't give you 2 more. We'll be here all day.
I want to have the Rutleys, first of all, to tell us a little bit about their background in music. I did not introduce specifically some of the things you've done, but professionally, I think our audience would appreciate some of the people that you performed with over the years. Maybe Padma, you would start that for us.
Well, I used to be one of the Hot Licks, Dan Hicks and his Hot Licks, and actually that became current again last December 9th when it was Dan's 60th birthday bash, and we went to San Francisco, and 45 of us appeared on stage to celebrate his birthday and do all the tunes. So there were 45 of us, and it was really fun. And then Merle Saunders, I went on the road with him all through the Orient, Japan, and Thailand, and a lot of different jazz groups in San Francisco area.
But haven't you also performed with Ike and Tina Turner?
Yes, they were on. I was at the Hungry Eye, and they were on the bill, and I was kind of the opening act for them. So.
Yeah, and so you've had all this. Steve, tell us a little bit about your background. I know you've been working a lot with the Rutleys over the recent years, and you're very, very gifted at what you do too.
I do a variety of things. I play in a trio with Tom and Padma, and I also play in a blues band here in the Northwest called Carl Ray and the Blues Gators. We do a lot of swing jump blues type stuff. My interests, I studied at the University of Montana and some here at NIC with some great instructors. I love classical music, love all this stuff. I've traveled quite a bit around the country, but I'm a Northwest native, and because I love the nature and the lifestyle up here, I've chosen not to adopt that as my main lifestyle.
Well, thank you. Now would be a wonderful time to bring in our first number, and Padma, if you'd introduce it, and then and entertain our audience with your beautiful voice and your accompanying with these great talented musicians.
this tune is "O Holy Night," and a very traditional song, and hopefully whoever is watching, they can sing along too. Stars are brightly shining. It is the night of the dear Savior's birth. Long lay the world in sin and error pining, till He appeared and the soul felt its worth. A thrill of hope, the weary soul rejoices, for yonder breaks a new and glorious morn. Fall on your knees, oh, hear the angel voices. Night divine, oh night when Christ was born, oh night divine, oh night, night divine.
What an incredibly beautiful voice and accompanist. And that really puts us in the holiday spirit, doesn't it, Janelle?
Yes, it does, and beautiful, beautiful. Thank you.
Go ahead, Janelle, with your next question.
Well, sometimes it looks so easy when you do it. It just looks like I could do that, but I know I can't. So my question is going to have to do with how do you prepare? And it will start with something about your backgrounds in terms of when you first became interested in music and how that blossomed over the years and how you prepared that way. And then a second part of the question is how you prepare for something like today. How do you decide what key you're going to do it in, the style you want, the mood you want, that kind of thing. So let's start with you, Padma, and then we'll go to Steve and then to Tom.
Well, of course, we had a rehearsal, and we usually...
You've worked together before, of
right,
course,
right.
so you have some ideas.
So you figure out what key it's written in, and then usually I'm an alto, so it's usually lower, and sometimes it's keys that the musicians are real happy about, and sometimes there are keys that they're not really happy about. But we just go over it until, we find. We thought of different rhythms too. Sometimes we can do some of the tunes in other rhythms too, but we chose the traditional this time. And
okay, another question is, when did you first become interested? That was the first part of my question.
Right.
Were you young when you recognized that you had a musical talent, that you had a drift toward music, a pull toward music?
Very young. Well, I used to, I don't know, I guess it started at home when company would come over. And then my parents and everybody would be around, and we'd sing songs, and I'd do things like that. And then church was one thing. In church I did a lot of singing. And then in school, in elementary school, when we had talent shows and things, and it kind of went on from there. And just
so if there are some people out there watching who have budding musicians in their house, they should encourage them
absolutely
to take part in all of those things.
Absolutely, yeah.
Steve, how about you?
I started, the Beatles kind of got me interested in it, and my father and mother too. They would listen to Buddy Holly and Frank Sinatra and people like that. So I kind of listened to it, but really wasn't a player. But this, somewhere in around junior high age, I got interested and started working at it, and just repetition. Repetition is one thing. just there's no substitute for just getting it down, repeating the phrases. And as far as preparing for something like this, time constraints really rules whatever you do. You go in, you say you have so much time, and what can we do? And so you decide whether you can change the tempos, change the keys to a greater degree, and change the arrangements, and that kind of rules what we do sometimes in those situations.
Tom, how about you? When did you get interested? You mentioned earlier that you had records at home.
Oh, yeah. Both parents were supportive, but I don't think either played an instrument. But, they were always supportive. I guess that was the most interesting. A little lightweight story. I was playing, the time I'd been playing, like into high school. It was really interesting because I was playing in a brass ensemble, playing tuba. And my mom went and heard one of those. But this was like with a college group, and I was a high school guy. It was a college group, so it was very, very good. And by golly, she heard that night, and I asked her how she liked it, and she said, it's not too bad at all. And went out the next day and got me a tuba that I used for like 30 years. It was like professional grade tuba, and I used it all through, when I became professional and all that. I used it then. And so it was very interesting. They're always supportive, but they didn't do much music. And that was funny too. I started on trumpet, about 10 years old. And a few years into it, when I was, getting comfortable with it, I checked into a school, and the guy says, well, what instrument do you play? I said, I play trumpet. He says, well, not here. You're the biggest guy here, so you're on tuba. And I dug it, though, so that was fine. And so I got tuba, and then the guy says, you'll never make a living on tuba, marching down the street. So then they said, you should take up bass. And I said, that sounds interesting. I took that up and then rolled over into the electric bass, too. So then I was a working player at that point,
Well, that's great. Now I think we shall go to Padma again and introduce our second number that we're doing for our audience today.
The second one is Silent Night. Silent night, holy night, all is calm, all is bright, round yon virgin, mother and child, holy infant, so tender and mild, sleep in heavenly peace, sleep in heavenly peace. Silent night, holy night, all is calm, all is bright, round yon virgin, mother and child, holy infant, so tender and mild, sleep in heavenly peace, sleep in heavenly peace.
Well, once again, it is so wonderful to have you here and to be able to sit here and enjoy your great talent. Padma, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. I've worked with all of you for a long time, and here in the Inland Northwest, both here in Coeur d'Alene and Spokane, the whole Inland Northwest, and at Gonzaga University and North Idaho College and other places, we've done a lot of work in civil rights as far as having programs. And we've had great rallies in the park, and we've had keynote speakers, but always part of our programs has been music. We learned that from that great leader, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., that music is a very, very important part of civil rights movement. And through music, we have maybe the greatest communication of any worldwide, because all parts of the world love music. So based on that long introduction, tell us how you use music to promote human rights and how you perceive it as a vehicle for dealing with equality.
Well, I think that music is a universal language. It's a language that everyone understands and the heart understands. And I always hope that somebody's heart will be touched in some kind of way when I'm doing something that can trigger that understanding and help people to come together closer. Because it's all about love anyway. What else is there but love, and that's what all these songs represent. It's love, and that's what we need more of in this world.
The three of you, along with other great musicians there, started helping us about 4 years ago, in addition to going back much further than that in the civil rights work. But at North Idaho College, at the symposium each year, we call it the North Idaho College Popcorn Forum, about 4 years ago we decided for about 15 to 20 minutes before the speaker appears that the audience is quiet and they are entertained with great music. And you've done that, and it's added a real new dimension to the lecture series. And people don't come in the last second, they get to come a little early and relax. And speakers have told me that is really helping them deliver their address to the audience too. So my other question to you is, in these different settings, like this is a holiday setting or the Popcorn Forum or civil rights, whatever it is, also elaborate a little bit upon how music makes that a very meaningful and more effective time together in a learning process. It's not just confined to civil rights, the use of music. Of course, in religion, it's also very important.
Right. Well, I know the most recent Popcorn Forum we did with Mark Twain really inspired us to go back into the history books. I've always loved Mark Twain anyway, but we went more in depth and wrote a song. We were inspired, and it's just called Mark Twain right now, but we've actually added it to our repertoire, and so that was exciting, and what was fun was when Mark Twain, when he was through, he said, "You really did study, because it was exactly what I was going to talk about."
Isn't that great connection?
So that was fun.
There might be some viewers watching and saying, all of them have lost touch with reality, that Mark Twain's not alive any longer. Yes. And so we need to explain that in the last 7 years we've used the Chautauqua format where scholars come in and they have studied these people and they play them. And so there's a wonderful history professor who plays Mark Twain. And so that's, I thought I'd better have that explanation.
Thank you, Tony.
We're so used to this format that we're always talking about Galileo or Mark Twain or Thomas Jefferson, and people think that we were not aware that they're not with us anymore. Right. But these scholars do a tremendous job with that.
They really do.
Janelle, back to you.
Tony touched on an item just a few minutes ago, and that's about the universality of music and the fact that it's everywhere. And so, starting with Padma, did you notice, as you did your travels around the world, that there were certain songs that are pretty universal? Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, of course, is one of those tunes that pops up in all kinds of cultures. And so did you notice others, or did you notice a particular thing that people like? And then I'll also ask about distinctions.
I think it's hard to... I can't remember the exact tunes, but I know in Thailand that one lady, I was walking down the street and she had seen the program and she was just wanting to touch me, and she couldn't speak the language, and I felt very bad that I learned a few little words, but I probably didn't do much justice to the language, but I tried, But we really communicated and we hugged each other. There was that universality in the love. We connected. And again, I saw her. She ended up that she had a little stand where she made silk flowers, and she made me this beautiful bouquet just before we left the country, and she went running. And, that connection, it was just, I'll never forget it. It was life-changing, and the love that we felt for each other, and we couldn't, neither one speak our native, she didn't understand, so I didn't understand.
Tom, but there are some distinctions too. I mean, there are differences in the music that is performed in various places. There are certain tunes, there are certain rhythms in particular, perhaps, and instruments too that are different depending on where they are. Could you point some of those out?
Point some of those out. Well, for me, actually coming from a bass player's point of view, the rhythms are as unique as we try and say each of us individually are. The more I play, the more I realize, and I do this for students too, because I'm simple-minded and I try and relay things in a simple way to the people who don't know what they're doing. And it's certain, whether it was Africa or Cuba or the States or anywhere, there's a certain amount of rhythm that's universal. And I always say, well, the difference that changes the rhythm is if you have what kind of shirt you have on or what kind of language you're speaking, it'll change. But the rhythmic devices that we all have, it's amazing how they all turn out being the same devices. I mean, God gave us so many, and we use them. But if you're speaking in Russian, it comes out a little different than if you were in Cuba. But a lot of times, there's a universality of feel or rhythm, and I began to see that a number of years ago. And so I just project that to people, that we all think we're completely unique and all that, but then you were talking, there's a certain commonality that runs through each of us. And then the more music, the more ways we get to share, the more we realize, did I say that right? The more we realize that it's all the same, really. We're all the same. And you were talking about that earlier too. Music is that way.
One of the experiences of that is that when and I visited Europe and go to some concerts, and much of the music was in a language that I did not speak, but through the knowledge of some music and the tones and all, you just enjoyed it immensely, even though you didn't understand the exact words being used, but you could just really feel that connection. On that note, I think we should move to our third number, and Padma, if you would introduce it for us.
Oh, little town of Bethlehem. Oh, little town of Bethlehem, how still we see thee lie above thy deep and dreamless sleep. The silent stars go by, yet in thy dark streets shineth the everlasting light. The hopes and fears of all the years are met in thee tonight. Oh, little town of Bethlehem, how still we see thee lie above thy deep and dreamless sleep. The silent stars go by, yet in thy dark streets shineth the everlasting light. The hopes and fears of all the years are met in thee tonight.
Again, Padma and your accompanist, thank you so much for that. That was just, again, such a very wonderful way for us to bring this program during this time of the year. As I said at the beginning of the program, times we interviewed children, or one time we had a 40-member choir. We had that at KSPS, where they had a large studio where we could tape it. So we just really enjoy bringing the year to a conclusion with such a special program. I want to say just a couple of things, and then as we go off the air in a very short time, you're going to end the program for us with another number, so our people that are watching can enjoy what we've tried to bring to them. There are many different peoples in the world, and there's many different religions, and one can say to the Jewish community, Happy Hanukkah, and to the Christian community, Merry Christmas, and and to other religions in other languages and other terms, they celebrate different holidays and at different times, and that's what is such a beauty of our democracy in this country, that we have this great diversity in people and in religions, and so we want to recognize that, even though we, on this particular program, have been addressing the music of the Christian community, but there's such beautiful music in all of these different cultures and different religions, and we certainly want to recognize that. I'm going to ask you to, and until we get completely off the air, to now do your next number, and thank you for being with us. It's been a wonderful opportunity to have you here.
Thank you. Well, we wish you a Merry Christmas, and we really do, from our hearts to you. Tidings to you wherever you are. Good tidings for Christmas and a happy new year. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a happy new year. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a happy new year. Good tidings to you wherever you are. Good tidings for Christmas and a happy new year. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a happy new year. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a happy new year. Good tidings to you wherever you are. Good tidings for Christmas and a happy new year. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a happy new year. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a happy new year. Good tidings to you wherever you are. Good tidings for Christmas and a happy new year. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a happy new year. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas